And now I'd like to bring up our wonderful leader of the evening, Jen. If you could give us some welcoming remarks to this great crew.
Thank you, Yashi. Hi. Okay, it's time to be quiet. All right. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Film Lab's 20th annual 72-hour Shootout filmmaking competition launch party. It's very exciting. This is our Chief Morale Officer, Gudger Goodyear. He's here to offer morale. All right. Well, we are so excited to have all of you, whether you're joining us here in person in New York City or you're joining us virtually from around the country or even around the globe. We're thrilled to have you. So in just a moment, we are going to have my incredible colleague, Tyler Hampong, tell you all about the judges and the sponsors and the prizes. But before he does, we're going to have two quick thank yous right off the top. So first of all, you know what? I'm just going to not use the microphone. Is that fine? Yeah. I have to. Just kidding. I am required. Okay, sorry about that. Two quick thank yous right off the top. One is to our incredible event host, Idealist. The two Matthews and Amidar have bent over backwards to make this event awesome, and we are forever grateful to them. So thank you to Idealist. Morale. And then also a thank you to my team. Every year, the 72-hour shootout, it takes a village. And these people selflessly dedicate enormous amounts of time, creativity, and talent to make it possible. So I just want to call them out real quick. And please, introduce yourselves, meet the people behind the emails, behind all the social media posts. And if you do want to applaud, that's great, but just wait till the end so I can get them all out there. So Tyler Hampong here all the way from LA. He is the Film Lab secretary, also a former Shootout winner and coordinator. He's so special. And he'll be talking to you later on. We've got Francis Chin, who is the coordinator this year. Be nice to him. He will be checking all the films for compliance with the theme before they go to the judges. So he does accept bribes. He doesn't. We have the incredible Yashi, who's been emceeing. We have, where's Ray? Ray Lanuza, our awesome treasurer. We have George as Bridges, the community outreach liaison. We have the incredible actress, Samantha Merrick. All right, and Gudger Goodyear, of course. There's a whole team of fabulous people, but just want to say thank you to all of them because they make the Shootout possible every year for everybody. So the Shootout has been around for 20 years, and I should say what the Film Lab is first. So I'm Jennifer Betit. I'm the president of the Film Lab. The Film Lab is a 501c3 not-for-profit dedicated to the promotion and support of gender and racial parity in entertainment media. And we accomplish that goal through a myriad of different ways throughout the year, but probably our most famous program, and the reason you're all here tonight, is the 72-hour Shootout, which has been going on again for 20 years. And it's kind of incredible to me that the Shootout has managed to maintain not just its relevance, but its importance for nearly 2 decades now. This microphone. And I was thinking about that at an event I was at recently. It was an induction ceremony for the National Women's Hall of Fame. And one of the speakers told a story in which high school students were asked to name inventors of great things. And so the students rattled off the names of a couple of white men. And they were told, well, okay, thank you, but could you name some women? Crickets. Now, the story didn't go on to say whether or not they were asked to name underrepresented people, people of color, Asian Americans, African Americans, LGBTQ people. But I imagine if they couldn't name a single woman, there would have just been more crickets. And in reality, there are so many people from underrepresented groups who have accomplished great things, invented incredible things throughout history. But I actually want to test the knowledge of you in this room and on the live stream. Please feel free to put in the comments if you know the answer. I'm just going to call out two inventors, one more recent and one from the further back past, and see if you know their names. So first, let's see. All right, Patricia Bath. Anybody? Patricia Bath? No. Patricia Bath, Black woman, pioneer of laser cataract surgery. And yet we don't know her name. All right, let's go further back into the past. Anna Williams. Crickets. All right, Anna Williams. Anna Williams discovered how to produce the antitoxin to diphtheria. No diphtheria? Thank you, Anna Williams. And there are so many more, unseen, unsung. And our ignorance of them lays bare in very stark terms the near complete and total erasure of the accomplishments of women, of people of color, of underrepresented groups from our society, from our mainstream media. So, what are we going to do about it? Well, we're going to make some films. But on kind of a broader, grander scale, what does that mean? Why are we making films? And there are kind of two schools of thought, right, on opposite ends of the spectrum. One is the sort of more aggressive one, right? We walk in, we bash down the door, we demand our seat at the table, we take everything in sight, and we don't apologize. We just take it. It's a little aggressive. All right, other side, we just turn the other cheek and we put our heads down and we just work 10 times as hard to beat them, the proverbial them, at their own game. But I don't think that either of these schools of thought are really what the Film Lab is about or what the 72-hour shootout is about. And if you'll bear with me, I'll tell you a little personal story to kind of illustrate why. So 2 of my grandparents were born to very affluent banking families in Shanghai, China. And as was the custom at the time for wealthy families, they sent their children abroad to go to college. And the idea was that the kids would get a great education, learn another language, another culture, become more cosmopolitan, kind of the reasons that we like to study abroad still today. And so my young grandparents, freshly married, did well on their exams. One got into NYU, one got into Columbia. I'll leave you to guess which one went to which school. And their parents sent them off early, first class all the way to the United States of America. And they toured the country in the lap of luxury, got to see all the tourist attractions, such fun. Their trip culminated in the most glamorous city of all, apologies to those who are not here, the city of New York, and they began their studies. And life was awesome, right? They were young, they were in love, they were wealthy, they wanted for nothing. But then this little thing happened. Some of you may have heard of it back in China. It was called the Communist Revolution. That happened. And their families in China were divested of all of their money, all of their property. Some died, some were imprisoned, and some fled the country. And my great-grandfather, my grandmother's father, got a message out to her, and he said, everything is lost here. There's nothing for you. You will be in grave danger if you return. Don't come back. I can't help you anymore. You're on your own. I love you. Good luck. And so my very privileged grandparents found themselves destitute overnight. And although they didn't know it at the time, this little sojourn that they thought was a fun little study abroad was going to become forever. They would never see their parents again, and they would never set foot on Chinese soil again. So they cried a little, because who wouldn't? But they were pragmatic, and they were like, all right, priorities, what are we going to do? We got to get jobs, because we got to make some money. And there their stories diverge, because my grandmother had to deal with the triple whammy of racism, xenophobia, and sexism. I think a lot of people here know what that feels like still. And my grandfather just had to deal with the double whammy. And of course, for immigrants and foreigners, the way you're treated when you're fabulously wealthy is very different from the way you're treated when you're destitute. So my grandmother's story is one for another time, but I'll tell you a little bit about what happened to my grandfather. So almost unbelievably for the time, he managed to get a job with his banking background and his finance studies on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. And he was doing very well until his boss came into him and said, hey, Andy, I'm sorry, but you're going to have to work off the floor. We're going to have to hide you somehow in the back, out of sight. And my grandfather said, I don't think you can do this job off the floor. What is this about? And his boss said, oh, gosh, I'm sorry. You know, it's not me. I think you're great. It's the other guys. They don't want to see a Chinese on the floor. Yeah. So we go back to those two schools of thought, right? So he could have taken the really aggressive stance, and he could have maybe punched his boss in the face, started a brawl with the traders, demanded their jobs and his job and a raise. It's the 1940s. He's probably the only guy of color in there. He probably would have ended up hanging from a lamppost if he did that. Wouldn't have worked out well for him. So maybe the other school of thought. Maybe he says, oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry my face offended you. I'm so sorry that my ancestry caused offense. Oh, my bad, all my fault. let me do the impossible. Let me go do this job from a closet. And the reality, of course, is that he did neither of those two things because he knew his worth. He stood up, he looked his boss in the eye, and he said, I will not work where I am not respected. He quit on the spot and marched out with his head held high over his boss's protests, and he never looked back. He knew his worth. Now, it might have seemed like he lost because he took another less prestigious job, albeit one without overt racism. But he still had his banking background. He still had his finance studies and his knowledge. He still knew how to play the market. And he did. And he did very well for himself. He made up his own game, his own rules, created his own story, built his own house, his own door, and to hell with everyone else's. And I tell you this to remind you that these storied institutions and fabulous award ceremonies, from the New York Stock Exchange to the Oscars, are only as important as we, the people, make them. The game is only as valid as the legitimacy given it by the players. And you don't have to play the game if you don't want to. You can make up your own game. Mm-hmm. Worth isn't just walking in, taking everything you can, demanding without earning. Worth is knowing who you are, what you can do, and then having the courage to actually do it. Mm. And if you've taken the time, and I hope you do, I hope everybody does, go online to our online channel and watch the Shootout films from the last 19 years. And when you do, you're going to see not just Asian American filmmakers, you will also see filmmakers from every ancestry, sexuality, gender, religion imaginable. And there's a reason for that. It's because at the Film Lab, we strongly encourage cross-racial coalitions to bring us all up together, because we understand that if one person, one group, no matter what they look like, whether they look like us or not, is not equal, nobody's equal. So we can either help each other, rise up together, or we can just become B-level oppressors, which is totally boring. So we're just not into that. And I will call out the elephant in the room. You will also see in the Shootout films and at our event, whether online or live, the most represented group in our society, the most privileged and the most entitled. The white men are here. And they are welcome. They are welcome too, because the men that are here tonight understand a concept that was articulated so well by the feminist scholar Peggy McIntosh. And so I just got eye surgery recently and I'm having a little bit of trouble. I have a cue card up here, but I can't really see it right now. My vision is kind of fluctuating. So I can't read you her quote. I'm going to just try to do it on my own, and it won't be as good as hers. But basically, what she said is that by virtue of being born white, she got all these privileges, these entitlements, these rights that she did nothing to earn other than popping out with a certain skin tone. And she argues that this creates a moral imperative to give power, to share power with others not born to it. That is worth. And so to bring it back full circle to the Film Lab, to the 72-hour Shootout, this is our means of amplifying the perspectives and the stories of all of you and us who have been marginalized and stereotyped by the mainstream media, erased like the inventors from the history books. And yes, as my amazing colleague is going to tell you in just a moment, you can win amazing industry networkships and screen tests through the 72-hour Shootout, which will give you, or could give you if you play your cards right, as they have for many of our alums, a very valuable seat at the existing table. But I'm here to remind you that you can also bypass the table, that you can make up your own game, your own rules, and your own stories. And we at the Film Lab will amplify them. We will shout your stories from the rooftops. We will recognize your worth. And the fact that you're here, not just ready to compete, but ready to share, to collaborate, to have a collective creative power, means that you already recognize your worth. And that, my friends, is everything. So thank you, and good luck.